is a gorgeous day outside, so I thought to myself, why am I sitting inside while the sun is shining, the birds are singing? I need to enjoy this early summer sun as well. So I've got my stuff with me. I'm gonna take that little baby outside, this little Kenmore, and we're just gonna have a fun little time making a little skirt. Okay? This will be my haven for the next couple of hours. Welcome to my outdoor sewing picnic party. Today I'm going to show you how to make this wrap skirt. It's very easy. This is a beginner level project. So get some paper to create your pattern and some rulers, scissors, some weights, pins, snips, and of course you want your sewing machine. I have about 2 yards of fabric. I think it's 44-inch wide fabric. So let's get started. How does one measure oneself? I'll show you. Okay, so grab a piece of paper or your notebook and measure with me and mark down all of the letters and what they mean. Trust me, it will be so easy to create this skirt and just retrace your steps if you do it this way. So for measurement A, measure from your waist to where you want your hem. For measurement B, measure from the waist to the fullest part of your hips. For measurement C, measure your full waist, the smallest indent in your torso just under your ribs. For D, measure your hips around the fullest area. For measurement E, if you have a protruding rear like I do, measure your back hip from the center of the side of your leg to the other side. If you don't have a larger rear, you can just have your full hip measurement for your front and back hip. For F, this measurement is measurement D minus E. So your full hip minus your back hip measurement. This will give you your front hip measurement. G is another calculation. I want you to divide C, your full waist, by 4. This will be your front and back waist measurement for the pattern creation. And that's it. I'm going to walk you through the pattern step by step, but let me just give you an overview of the final pattern that we are going to make. So we'll be creating a front and back piece. The front has an extension for the wrap. The facing pieces are optional. And then of course there's the waist wrap. And these are the steps that we're going to be doing. We'll be using our measurements to first create a simple skirt block and then build upon it to create this wrap skirt. To create your front skirt, draw a line the length of measurement A. This is your center front line. From the top of your line, which is the waist, mark down your waist to hip measurement, which is measurement B. To create your waistline, draw a line straight out at the top, that is measurement G, or quarter of your waist, plus 1 inch or 2.5 centimeters for the dart. Draw a line straight out at the hip marking half of your front hip measurement, or measurement F divided by 2. Connect the outer edge with a slight curve. Then draw a line at the same angle as the hip to the hem. Measure 3 inches or 7.5 centimeters from the center front line and mark your 1 inch dart width. I drew a line in the center of my dart marking that is 3.5 or 8 centimeters down from the dart length and connected the dart legs to the width of the dart. For the front wrap extension, I measured straight out from the center front line, measurement G, or a quarter of the waist. I measured down 5 inches or 12.5 centimeters for where the waist wrap ties are going to attach. 2 inches over from that, I measured down 8 inches or 20 centimeters. From the hem, I measured up 3 inches or 7.5 centimeters, then connected the dots to create the curve of the wrap skirt. Hey, did you see that? This is one side of the front wrap, so we will cut it twice. To create the wrap tie, we are going to create a rectangle that is the same width as the wrap extension on our skirt, so 5 inches or 12.5 centimeters. The length is measurement C divided by 2, which is the waist. Then I just created a rounded point to this rectangle to complete it. Back skirt starts the same as the front, so draw a straight line for measurement A plus 1/2 inch or 13 millimeters because your butt likes to make the skirt shorter in the back, so I just make it a little bit longer. From the top down, mark measurement B. At the top, mark
measurement G straight out plus 1.5 inches or 3.5 centimeters for the dart. From the hip marking, mark out the measurement E divided by 2. Connect these lines same as the front to make the side seam and make the outer line 1/2 inch shorter at the hem so that it will line up with the front. Mark your dart 3 inches or 7.5 centimeters from the center back line and make it 4.5 inches or 11 centimeters long. This piece, being half of the back, will be cut on the fold of your fabric, so you only have to cut one. Next, we have to add seam allowance around everything. Otherwise, if we sew it like this, it will be smaller and not fit us. So I added 1/2 inch around the edge. You could add 1 centimeter. Cut it out, and then we're going to make the longer waist tie. The length of this tie is your full waist measurement, or C, plus 1/8 of your waist. Then trace the top and bottom of your short waist tie. It already has seam allowance, so you can just cut it out as is. Since I am doing a facing, I'm cutting 2 of these each. To create the facing, trace out your front skirt and mark your dart. On the side seam, make a marking from the waist the same length as the dart, so that's 3.5 inches or 8 centimeters. From this point, draw a straight line to the dart tip, then curve it down to the bottom edge of your extension. Mark your center front line on the facing, and you'll be cutting this out twice to match the skirt. Repeat the same steps for the back, but make the back side seam the same as you did for the front, so 3.5 inches or 8 centimeters. And then make the center back the same length as the back dart, and connect these lines. Make sure you mark where it's placed on the fold, and you will be cutting one of these just like the back skirt. Next, cut these facings out, cut the darts out, and close that area where the dart was. This facing will line up with the skirt like so. When the skirt darts are sewn up on the outer shell of the skirt, then this facing will match perfectly. And there's the complete pattern. Time to cut. I have my fabric folded, cut out 2 front skirts at the same time. I line up the center front line with the straight grain of the fabric. My fabric is woven with colored yarn, so I can use the plaid as a guide. I use an awl to poke a hole in the fabric to mark just above the end of the dart.
I love it already, I'm so excited.
When cutting the back skirt, I figure out my placement by placing my already cut front skirt along the side seam to try and match up the plaid pattern. I do the same thing with the short tie since it will be on the outer side of the wrap. I finished cutting everything, and there we have it, all of the pieces cut.
Just overlock here, 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 and here. What fun this is! For once, I'm not going to use my serger, just so that you can see how I zigzag the edges so that you can keep them from fraying. I added all of the zigzag stitches, and now let's sew it together. The daylight is going. It's definitely sunset, golden hour, so let's see if I can finish this before the light goes. Okay, first things first, you want to sew up all of your darts on the front and back. So you just pinch those little notches together, pinch it at the little marking you made, and then just sew.
I'm pinching these darts with the right sides of the fabric facing. Don't backstitch your darts, just tie the ends of the thread. Then fold these darts towards the center of the garment. With the right side of your back skirt facing up, place your front skirt pieces right sides to the back and sew up the side seams. With the right side of your assembled skirt facing up, place your short and long waist tie right side down on your front skirt waist extensions on either side and sew. Also sew the sides of your front and back facings together with the right sides of the fabric facing. If you don't want to do facing at this point, you can just fold over the edges of the entire skirt and that will finish it for you. So I still need to add the waist ties to the facing, but I'm going to add them opposite from how they are on the skirt so that when I actually face the facing to the skirt right sides together, the long tie will match up with the long tie and the short tie will match up with the short tie. With right sides of the fabric together, sew up the entire edge of the facing from the bottom edge of the waist tie to the other side in the same location. Make sure you open up the seams when you do this. It helps reduce bulk and it just lays nicely.
Before I sew this, I'm just gonna run inside and iron it because it's killing me how wrinkly it is. And then I'll be right back out to finish up the facing.
I particularly wanted to iron all the seams open and flat.
Time to go. Time to go. We've got the whole thing sewn. 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way to the front. So that you get a nice point. This is the outside of it. This is the inside of the facing.
Once I've sewn the facing, I like to understitch the facing, so that means I'm sewing the facing to the seam allowance close to the edge of the seam. It will help keep the facing from popping out when wearing it. I start at the side seam where the waist wrap meets the skirt and end at the seam on the other side. To finish the raw edge of the rest of the skirt, we're just going to double fold and sew. So as you hem this edge, you can either pin everything first, but I just fold as I go, folding about 1/4 inch and then folding again 1/4 inch, and then I sew a bit, and then I fold a bit more, and then I sew a bit, and just continue that process. We are nearly finished, and at this point I forgot that I didn't make a little opening for the long waist tie to go through. So on the side opposite the long waist wrap, I opened up a little 1.5 inch gap or 4 centimeters in the facing and the outer skirt in the same area.
How can I move, sweet little pepper?
I reinforced where I opened it with a stitch, and then I sewed a rectangle around this opening just to clean finish it. To keep the other side of the facing inside the garment, I sewed it at the side seam to the seam allowance of the outer skirt with a tiny back stitch to finish.
Time to try it on. Okay, this baby's done. I will show you what it looks like. Well, what'd you think? Let me know down in the comments. I love talking with you guys. If you end up making this skirt, please do tag me on Instagram at Lydia Naomi Studio or just hashtag Lydia Naomi. I'd love to see it. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, subscribe if you want to see more, ring that bell, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!